Kahalau Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Kadash. Double honor to the apostles at great millstone. Salute to you, brothers, teaching the word in sincerity and in truth. So this another news channel, and pretty much you've got like for and against arguments for the digital ID, and you pretty much you have a situation where 100% you're gonna have individuals. Well, let me put it this way: you've got the system, the elites and shit. They want to know who's for and who's against the digital IDs, so they're gonna be doing stuff to be able to determine that before it actually gets rolled out. Through all the other different data analyzing the stuff that they've already been doing for people watching certain videos and what people are clicking on and all that. This is how they get down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this and we'll go right into how some of these figures off this petition that they're doing. UK government and parliament do not introduce digital IDs. It's coming up to 3 million. Well, it was at 2.5, 2.6 million. Let's play it.
Now we can report that over 2.5 million people have signed the petition against their introduction. Now, an exclusive polling seen exclusively by GB News, courtesy of our friends at Electoral Calculus, proves that the opposition is across the political and the age divide. Let's now speak with the CEO of Electoral Calculus, Martin Baxter. Martin Baxter, always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much for sharing this exclusive data with us. Let's start with the fascinating political backlash against this. And Martin Baxter, we can see there's wide support from the traditional parties, but the newer parties are rejecting it.
Yes, that's interesting. So this poll that we've done with our partners Find Out Now, we did the sample on Friday, about 1,000 people, and excluding the don't knows, we found 46% of people against the digital ID cards and only 27% in favour, with the rest in the middle. There we go, we got the graphs there. But it's not a left-right divide, as you were saying. That interestingly, both Labour and Conservative voters, by a small margin, support the plan. But Reform voters...
So let's put it like this. In America, you got the Republicans and the Democrats, right? So what they're saying over here, you got the Conservative Labour. They're like your main two, like your main two parties usually. Now you got the Reform. They've got a lot of policies that are similar to what Trump's got over there, mainly with the borders and stuff like that, but getting out illegal immigrants and stuff. But Labour have got those policies too, which are they're the main party in right now. Or people were saying the Labour are more how can I put it? That they weren't doing nothing about it, and they, politics is all over the place. But anyway, he's come out and said, okay, I'm going to do something about this. And now they don't even know what to do, because they wanted it to be a situation where Keir Starmer weren't doing nothing about it. Now he's put this out, they're against this. So, see, this is what they do, because here it is. They're saying that, and it's like Trump, right? They're going to do stuff over there in the same way, to have control using the technology. He's already been doing stuff like that. He had the freedom cities that they got the army on deck. They got ICE grabbing people up. They're doing stuff. They're moving like this. So it just proves that no matter what side of the fence you are, left or right, that the government the whole plan is for total control, because all of these politicians and all that, they're in it. They're part of the same club, right? And they actually, went to the same schools and all of that. They trained up. All right, so that's what the scripture says about be not ignorant of Satan's devices. I'll get that in a second, yeah. Obviously the Republics and the Democrats, they're saying it's the left versus the right. So they're saying Trump and his party is the right there, and then Biden and them, which he ain't in there right now, for all them like they're the left. That's how they're pushing it. But that's just how they get to label people. So what they've done is data to say, well, and what they found out is what they're saying is the two main parties over here are kind of like how society normally functions between mainly the Labour and the Conservatives used most of the time. They're saying that they're not, that in these petitions, they're not hardcore the ones coming against it. So, and this is based off this. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? This is based off whoever signed this petition, because like there's all sorts of factors that will come into play with these kind of things, man. There's people that ain't gonna even sign no petitions. Who did the ask? There's all these kind of things. So we're not going up. I'm just using this to just show you, bring out the truth here, and show you something. Let's play some more of this.
Liberal Democrats and Greens are all against by quite heavy margins, Reform voters particularly against. But if Keir Starmer's aim is to get maybe some Reform voters back to Labour and persuade Lib Dems and Greens to support him, this is actually not the sort of policy that's going to do it. Those voters, the key ones he's trying to attract, are repelled by this policy. So it just goes to show politics is sometimes a bit more complicated than you expected.
So they would say that Reform is a hardcore right party, right? And they would say that, and they're what they call Labour and Conservative centrist party. See, all this, I'm not going to go all into that right there, but and this is how you know politics. So I'd say Reform usually against the alphabet stuff, if I'm not mistaken, and just like how, but at the same time, there's gonna be people in there that are lesbians and shit like that. So it's all over the place. But what they're doing is they're saying that, well, it's a certain basically they're saying the main people that are voting for this, the most people are in favour of it, is what they're trying to say. The most of the people that are in those main parties, yeah, and that right party, this is how they use their politics and shit, is against it. Now, when I watched the start of this video, this GB News, they're like kind of for this Reform Party, Nigel Farage, and then you stand behind British flags and all that. Kind of like an Enoch Powell type style get up. You know what I'm saying? And what they'll do with that is they're pushing something here, but they'll act like, well, the whole country's against these IDs. But that's how you know that they're set up. Let's play this, because a lot of people you're gonna find out over here are robots. They're gonna just get it. I'm saying, like, oh, that's just what you have to do. That's just how things are. People are puppets out here. Let's play this.
Thought it might have been a straight left-right split, but it isn't. It's more complicated than that. The old centre parties are for it, they're quite evenly balanced, and others are
And
against.
Martin, the age split to me is absolutely fascinating. We're led to believe this is old duffers who don't like change. In actual fact, the rebellion is being led by the younger voters and perhaps Martin Baxter. That's because they remember the pain that lockdowns caused them.
Isn't that interesting? Yes. So we see that amongst the age 18 to 39s, over 50% oppose and fewer than 20% support. But all age groups are opposed, but the younger generation more opposed than anybody else. So again, quite interesting findings that maybe we wouldn't have expected. But as you say, it may be to do with lockdown or other attitudes amongst the young. But it's neither the young nor supporters of other parties are really groups that Labour should be trying to reject at the moment. So it's excuse me.
Martin,
So
as you say, what's fascinating about this, Martin, is that the Labour Party is putting itself out there as it wants to lower the age that you're eligible to vote, and they thought that was a shoo-in. That could backfire because Jeremy Corbyn's party, the Greens, Nigel Farage's party.
And this is the thing. So they're getting all this part, getting all caught up into the parties, man. The parties was all BS, because, like I was saying, it doesn't matter what party you are. It doesn't matter what party you are. This is coming in anyway. And anybody that votes against, and you got something to say about it, it's data collection. Now, when they asked, let me go to the start here. She was asked, what if everybody comes against it? And he pretty much didn't answer the question. But she couldn't really. Let's see if I can.
Very small step between a digital ID and a social credit system, with the British people beholden to a government that has powers beyond your wildest dreams of how you can control the population. And I ask you again, if 100% of the people in this country don't support it, what happens then? Are you going to put over 2 million people in prison if we don't have a digital ID?
So I think we should be talking.
2 million people. If there's about 70 million people, 69 million, 70 million people in the UK, right? 2 million people. In London alone, there's like fucking 9 million. So, and then pretty much all the other towns have got like under 1 million or some shit like that. There's a lot of people down in the capital. You know, the capital is like, it's basically its own country, London. You know, then you got the city of London. Within that, so 2 million people is not everybody. So you gotta understand. You see, they just and this ain't even the false flags. This ain't even the false flags yet, which they're gonna ramp up false flags. And that's how they're gonna get y'all to completely subscribe to this. And by the way, the digital IDs lead to the mark of the beast, okay? Which we all know. Let's do this. Let's go, yeah, let's bring this. Romans 13:11, and knowing the time that now it is a high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And that's telling you that all this is going to lead to the end times. And you know the scripture says, if anyone be ignorant, let them be ignorant still. Most of y'all dummies out there, you ain't gonna wake up. And this is only for the elect anyway, but a lot of y'all ain't gonna wake up. A lot of y'all are gonna take it because that's just the way. How many of y'all are prepared to really go against the system like that? Because you're gonna have to go off grid. And by the way, the UK hasn't even got a big off grid. It's gridded. How many people do you know have land like that? And then you say, yeah, well, I know people. Yeah, cool. Romans 13:16, and it causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. When you go through most of these countries, when you travel through the country, all the land is private, man. You can't, you know what I mean? It ain't for hire or nothing like that. You can't. It's just private farmlands owned by the system. You know what I'm saying? But this is going to lead to the mark of the beast. What we're talking, this thing here is going to lead to that mark of the beast. Let's see what this geezer's got to say.
We shouldn't be talking about some sort of dystopian sci-fi novel. The digital ID is not mandatory. You're not going to have to carry it around in your pocket. No police are going to be inspecting you to make sure you have it. It's to make those transactions with the state slightly easier and slightly more secure. So you might need it, or you will need it when you're registering for a new job, when you're maybe...
Of course you're going to need it. It's not mandatory. Well... I don't know where he's coming. He just didn't have to backtrack. Say, well, you will need
it. Doing some financial transactions around a particularly large purchase, or interacting with HMRC. These are sensible things that you need your ID to do.
Of course, if you don't have it, you're gonna have to go off the fucking grid. Eventually, it's going to be like that. They're going to say, well, you can't do anything. You can't work. You can't get state benefits. You can't do this. You can't do anything unless you got the ID. You think people are going to reject that? And then so what if everybody... So they're just monitoring. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at this thing. But at the end of the day, man, they don't care. They're bringing it out anyway. And they're just, you know, there's tactics with if you know people are going to rebel. This is like old like stuff. But when if you know people are going to rebel, you control that. You control the rebellions. So then you can control where they're gonna go. You got like a lot of people selling, shills selling like bug out kits, and you go to one person to get this kit, and then pretty much that person's paid off, and they're monitoring everybody that's getting them kits.
To access at the moment anyway, so there's no real change apart from making it simpler to facilitate. I honestly don't think when people really understand the policy and they ignore the scare stories that are being put out by particular people on social media, if they understand the simplicity of this thing, that they will oppose it.
Well, I disagree with you on that, Alex, but I appreciate your time enormously today from the Labour Party conference. Thank you so much. That was Alex Ballinger, MP there for the West Midlands, and he talked about, well, it's not a dystopian sci-fi novel, is it? It is, Sarah. It genuinely is a dystopian sci-fi.
So that's what the word is, that this is a dystopian sci-fi novel, right? They put this in those things because they plan this. So you think they ain't gonna pull it out because 2.5 million signed a petition, man? Man, you can't you can't stop prophecy, man. You know what I'm saying? Scripture says the word of the Lord doesn't go out void, but accomplishes that which you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that one off the rip. I'd have to Google it. But that's where we're at with things right here. Let me just close out in Habakkuk. Before I close out in Habakkuk, let me see if I can get that. Because it's the wording. I don't know if I'm wording that right. I know I could put accomplish. That which. Oh yeah, Isaiah 55:11. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Then you got Habakkuk, obviously, that goes into it shall surely come. Habakkuk 2. So I'm going to close this one out. On to the next one.